Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of No Huddle with Zach Arndt. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Florida Gators, giving a preview for this upcoming 2022 college football season. Led by new head coach Billy Napier in his first season, that was a big get for Florida. Billy Napier had a lot of success over at Louisiana. Offensive coordinator Rob Sale and new defensive coordinators Patrick Toney and Sean Spencer lead the way. Some key players for Florida: QB Anthony Richardson, the 6'4", 230-pound quarterback. Very explosive quarterback. Throw it down the field, make any throw. Also uses his legs very well to extend plays outside of the pocket. Linebacker Vertrell Miller. He led the 2020 Gators with 86 tackles, 7.5 for loss during a breakout season, but a shoulder injury last year in Week 1 ended his season short. The leading linebacker for Florida, Bratton Cox Jr., even with the foot injury last year, he was still able to record 14.5 tackles for a loss, had 12 QB hurries, and returns for a fifth season. And he is in range with the sack record of 13, set by Alex Brown in 1999. Bratton Cox very capable of getting at least 13 this year. Florida had some key losses, starting out with Kier Elam, the cornerback. He had 18 passes defended last year, and he was a first-round draft pick. Running back Dameon Pierce, 13 touchdowns, averaged 5.7 yards per carry on 100 carries. Then we have Zachary Carter, defensive end. He had 27.5 tackles for loss in his last 3 seasons. He had 8 sacks in 2021, and that was the leader of the front 7. Even with the coaching change, Florida was able to get a pretty solid 2022 recruiting class. Billy Napier and company did a really good job in keeping in-home talent in Florida, led by 5-star safety Kamari Wilson, 4-star linebacker Shamar James, 4-star D-lineman Chris McClellan, 4 stars Trevor Etienne and Devin Moore, 4 stars offensive tackle Tony Livingston and defensive lineman Jamari Lyons. Now let's take a look at the depth chart. At wide receiver, they have a rising star in Xavier Henderson, the sophomore. They have returning receivers Trent Whitmore and wide receiver Justin Shorter. At left tackle, they have Richard Gurridge returning along with Ethan White. At center, Kingsley Eguakon. I probably said that wrong. Then they have new right guard and right tackle Michael Tarkin and Osiris Torrance are the projected starters. They do have a backup right guard, Josh Brown, who did play a little bit last year, but the presumed starter is looking like it's going to be Osiris Torrance. On defense, they have returning starters Jervin Dexter, Bratton Cox Jr., and Ventrell Miller in the front 7. They're going to bring in Jalen Lee, most likely to start at nose tackle, and then Amari Burney, outside linebacker. Even losing Elam in the secondary, they bring back Avery Helm, Jason Marshall Jr., Trey Dean III, Rashad Torrance II, and Trevez Johnson. Trey Dean, he's probably going to be an all-SEC performer. Might be the second best safety in the conference, maybe third. Georgia and Alabama have some studs, but Trey Dean's right up there in that conversation. Anthony Richardson last year, the quarterback, he's coming back. He last year threw for 529 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He also ran for 401 yards, averaged 8 yards a carry, and had 3 touchdowns. At receiver, Xavier Henderson, as I previously mentioned, he had 277 yards last year, averaged 10.7 yards a catch, and had 2 touchdowns. Here are some important stats for the Florida Gators heading into next year. Last season, they ranked 60th in offensive field position and 62nd in defensive field position. Offensive efficiency, 46.7%, which was good for 27th ranked. Defense was 40.9%, which was ranked 53rd in the nation. They were 12th in offensive explosive plays. They were 43rd in offensive ability to finish a drive. And they had a -6 turnover margin, which ranked 115th out of 131 in the FBS. Florida averaged 30.7 points per game last year, along with 208 yards on the ground, 254 through the air, with a total of 462 yards per game. On defense, they allowed 27 points per game, which was 73rd in the nation. They allowed 164 rushing yards, which was 85th in the country. And they allowed 204 passing yards, which was 25th in the country. And allowed up a total of 367 yards per game, which was 51st. Turnover margin, as I mentioned, they were ranked 116th in the country. With those numbers, the Florida Gators finished 6-7 last year, 2-6 in the SEC. They lost the Gasparilla Bowl against UCF by a score of 17-29. Taking a look ahead to their 2022 schedule, they start the season off against Utah, which I think they'll lose that game. Next game against Kentucky, that's a toss-up. I think the Gators will pull that one out. Also win the week following that against USF. They travel to Rocky Top to play Tennessee. I think they'll lose that game, followed up by a win against Eastern Washington and Missouri at home. LSU comes to town. I think they'll win that for their third straight. Georgia and Jacksonville, neutral site game, the annual game between Florida and Georgia. I think Florida's going to lose to Georgia this year. Also lose at A&M. And then finish the year strong on 3 straight wins against South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Florida State. That puts them at 8-4. I think that's a pretty reasonable prediction. They could go 7-5. That week 2 game against Kentucky, that could go either way. It's just so early in the year. If that game was later, I'd probably choose Kentucky, but I think Florida's going to surprise some people and win that game. Also, that game against LSU, it is home. If it was at LSU, I'd probably go with the Tigers, but it is in the swamp. I think Florida pulled that one out. Florida State at the end of the year, Florida State's probably going to have another down year. If not a down year, it might be a mediocre season. So there's a little prediction of how I think the Florida Gators season is going to go. I have them going 8-4 with the possibility of going 7-5. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you all have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one.